Speaking of giving people microphones to talk about a sport and a broadcast corporation, we have to talk about something here. I don't know when you want to do it, but
we've got time
here.
We've got plenty. If you want to talk about the allegations about the NFL Network and Donovan McNabb,
not just Donovan, Warren Sapp, Marshall Faulk, the head. What was the guy's name? The boss man. What's the guy's name? Ed Weinenberger,
something like that. He's one of those.
The guy who put his sack on a young lady's shoulder.
What are you doing?
Sack machine
for real. I honestly, because we talked about this before the show.
A good person.
Yeah, that's why we got the drop. If you're a guy out there listening and you can hear what the things that are about to be read and talked about, please ask yourself, do I know people like this? Am I this person? Because for the life of me, I can't fathom putting genitalia on a female coworker's person. I can't fathom looking at a woman that has no interest in me or hasn't expressed any interest in me and saying, that ass is so fine, it should belong to me. I can't, and I talked about it on Twitter, and I know Twitter isn't the real world, but a lot of people like to act like it is. I don't know who raised these gentlemen. And then I thought about it. You know what? Outside of the head of the thing, the boss man who's putting his sack on people's shoulders, is it too much of a coverall to say professional sports or sports raise these dudes? Because when you've been told yes your entire life, is this what happens? Where you're just like, oh yeah, this person is mine? Or
it gets back to Sean Salisbury too, right?
But I'm not joking. I'm not putting on. Listen, there's no one who appreciates the beauty of a woman more than I do.
Some of us famously so.
But, exactly. But I don't press it where unwanted nudes are sent. Like, if you're going to send nudes, make sure they're wanted. Like, make sure that you have established contact. Yes, you would like to see this, wouldn't you? I'm just making sure. Here you go. How's the lighting?
We've talked about this.
Do you need a remote control for scale?
The difference between and it's one,
dude,
when it's somebody,
what is going on?
Especially when it's someone in your office, one of your actual coworkers. And look, when people go out to lunch and say, "Hey, who's the new so and so?" and she's really pretty, all that, but that happens all the time. But to get to
And women do it with the new guys. We're like, oh, look at that guy. He's making you guys have to take it back to the gym. He's in great shape. But
when you get to some of the stuff about cornering somebody and dropping your pants, yeah, you want some of this? When are you going to get some of this? It's about time you got some of this.
Like who? I promise you guys, I'm not playing radio. Who does this? Like, who are the people that And Maggie Hendricks tweeted something in the thread that I was talking and said something to the effect of every lady has dealt with this. And it's crazy because last week, Nicole and I talked about this, about powerful men and all the, whether it be Russell Simmons or Donald Trump or Harvey Weinstein and all the people that are getting these allegations thrown at them right now and what powerful men are allowed to do. And she said, it's probably been happening from the beginning of time. And I said, yeah. And I felt like the yeah didn't give it as much gravitas as it needed in that moment because I really wanted to ask her, has anyone ever approached you in a manner that you felt uncomfortable in? And dude, you know how I am about mine. Like, and now she works right across the street. Like, who are these dudes that, one, think they can do this, and two, think that they don't have anybody around them that will protect who they love and bring it to your door, whether it's your office or your home. And, do you really think that's the way that you should address my lady or my sister or my daughter? Like, who are these people?
And this lawsuit was filed by Jamie Cantor, who's a wardrobe stylist for NFL Network. And
the Deadspin stuff.
Some of the behavior that's deep. Marshall Faulk invited her according to this suit, invited her to his hotel room, taking out his stuff, pointing to it and saying, when are you going to get on this already? pinned the plaintiff against a wall, demanding that she service him while he pulled his pants down.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this.
Now, a lot of people are pointing out the fact that these things are coming out after she was fired and all that. And I think that's we got to be careful with that. We got to be careful, especially, these last couple of days. We have been racing to jump on things that we thought were true, and all of a sudden, we found out that we as a social media society have been conned out of $50,000 by a GoFundMe where you thought a kid was being bullied, and you find out maybe the kid had some choice words for some of the brown people
because he's a racist.
Right, exactly.
Maybe it doesn't constitute bullying.
Right. Maybe you just got your ass whooped because you said something you weren't supposed to say. And I do not condone bullying and any of those kinds of things at all, because there's two little girls who hanged themselves in the last couple of weeks, 13 and 10 years old, because of what social media has become, where you're getting bullied at school. That was one thing. We dealt with bullying in school. But you felt like you had your off period where you clocked out and you can go home. Now with social media, that thing is on your brain or on your tablet all day, all night, and kids can't deal with that. So I'm not condoning that at all.
I give some credit to whatever Deadspin reader found this comment on another website from one of the accused here, Heath Evans.
He's got some other issues, too.
Heath Evans was asked, as Christians and as athletes, we hear about using our platform for God. How well do you feel you've accomplished that goal? This is Heath Evans, who's one of those accused of aberrant behavior. Mm-hmm. He says, I think post-retirement, the Lord really allowed me to walk through some things so that I have a much greater understanding of his providence and sovereignty. One of my favorite verses is John 5:44. How can you believe, since you accept glory from one another, but do not seek the glory that comes from the only God? When I sit down each day to write in my journal, I tell him that this day is his, and for him to use me as he, all capitalized, sees fit.
And then he says, take a look at this.
What do you think of this? By the time you get on this, woman.
So this is from Deadspin, and they got they got the full amended complaint against NFL Enterprises, including the allegations. It says former executive producer of NFL Network Eric Weinberger sent plaintiff several new pictures of himself in sexually explicit texts, including but not limited to blank was put on earth to pleasure me. And watching you walk down the hall makes me crazy. Your ass drives me insane. Now, I got to ask this. Which cornball in this decade thinks that that's going to work? Like, forget the allegations, forget all the other stuff. I got to get these jokes off.
Wait, my ass drives you insane? Let's get a hotel room right now.
Which dude thinks that? Oh, you know what? I've been working on this one all day. All right? So when I send you this, how
about this?
Flooding.
Heath Evans sent the plaintiff nude pictures of himself on at least 2 separate occasions.
Unwanted nudes.
This is the man who loves the Lord. Mr. Evans constantly propositioned plaintiff to have sex with him. Mr. Evans also made several sexually inappropriate comments to plaintiff, such as, "You're making me horny." Accent added was mine. and the other one I'm not even going to read.
Right. Mr. Weinberger asked plaintiff to meet him in the back bathroom because he needed to see her and was, quote, super horny.
Super horny. Is that like super pretzel? Super taco?
Hey, so to speak. At times when plaintiff was working at her desk, Mr. Weinberger pressed his crotch against plaintiff's shoulder and asked plaintiff to touch it. Mr. Weinberger cornered plaintiff and grabbed her behind, touching plaintiff's crotch, groping her breasts, and put his hands down plaintiff's pants to, quote, check to see if she was wearing underwear. Where does this happen? Like,
Eric Davis,
who does this and thinks, oh, yeah, we're good.
Eric Davis allegedly made lewd comments into her office, such as, when are we going to spend time together? I want you so bad. You look like a woman who knows what to do in bed. You look like you'd be an animal in the sheets. Said, I wanted to spank plaintiff so hard it would leave marks. Mr. Davis asked the plaintiff to have rough sex with him. And while plaintiff was working on a ladder, Mr. Davis grabbed the plaintiff's behind, slid his hand between the plaintiff's legs, and touched plaintiff's privates while saying, I can't handle your ass. It is so luscious. When plaintiff slapped his hand away, Mr. Davis aggressively told the plaintiff to never push his hand away again.
Who are these lame, gross, incompetent men? Like, these are the... Dude...
And the stuff from Donovan McNabb... dude.
When
It's just like
when the
eye roll.
When the Weinstein stuff started to come out, you know, we talked about earning a woman's adoration and admiration. Like, that's how I was taught. Like, that's why I was shy the first, 20 some odd years of my life, because I never felt like I should push myself there or, all right, I'm here now. Come do with me as you see fit. No, you there's a certain way you go about courting someone or finding out if someone's interested. How do you skip all those steps and then with a coworker? Like, you know how safe you got to be? You know how sure you have to be that a coworker is interested in you? Those are like, and for the people out there, oh, well, you can't talk to a coworker anymore. Well, if that's what's limiting your safe space of potential love interests, like, don't get me wrong. I met my lady
at work.
But guess what? I didn't. Hey, listen here. I'm a part-time producer with big things coming up in my life. You're an intern. Jump
when you gonna get on this?
Exactly. You see that 94 Nissan Sentra out back? And pay for itself, damn it. All right? Big things popping over here, baby. No, it didn't happen like that. Outside of work, I asked her, would you like to go to a Chicago Rush game with me?
There it is.
There it is. Simple as that. She said yes.
You old romantic, you.
Hey, I was in the skybox with Dan Pompey, our first date. I'll never forget. You damn right.
Casanova.
But this is the
arena damn football.
Seriously, dude. Who are these men? Like, who is this worked on?
Want to go watch Woodrow Densler?
No, it was the brother from Kansas State, Michael Bishop, with the giant hands.
Yeah. Oh, and like the test score of 6, right?
This guy.
Wasn't he a famous Wonderlic single-digit guy?
Yeah, Prop 96.
Man,
he had issues.
Double.
He had issues. But honestly, though, like, fellas, raise your sons to be better than this. Guys, raise your daughters to make sure that any creep that comes at them with this doesn't feel ashamed that they can't tell anybody. Because
we're just having carrying a scissors.
Be careful. Be careful. But I cannot believe when I read these things and you watch the news, hell, people are coming after the president, people are coming after senators, and I'm sitting there like, how commonplace is this? How commonplace is that you as a man can feel that, you know what, she owes that to me?
When I texted my wife the Mario Batali story about the 20 years of pressing himself against people, and she actually said, of course. And I said, what do you mean, of course? She said, it's restaurants. It's the kitchen. So you talk about the ultimate place of male dominance. And when you read Anthony Bourdain's book, you're talking about almost literal pirates. Yeah. Like these guys,
super alpha males,
tatted up and waving scimitars around. I mean, it's just some of those restaurant kitchens are some of the nastiest places in the world for women to exist. Close quarters, too.
Right.
Behind you, coming through, behind you. Oh, sorry about that.
You got to move somebody out the way.
And the drinking, the heavy drinking that goes on in those. And you also have different kinds of acceptable male swagger in different foreign cultures that brings itself and lends itself to this melange of testosterone.
Not every culture is progressive. Yeah. Right. And still stuck in those days.
Correct.
Yeah, no, I know. Trust me, I know.
Correct.
I read it and you laugh, you get sad, you get angry, you go through all those emotions, and I can't imagine. Because I've been on that lot. It's not a big lot in LA. Only time I've ever been to L.A., I went to NFL Network. My buddy was working there. I did a stand-up demo tape, and it was with Stacey Dales, and it was a good time. Mm-hmm. But it was a tiny lot and a lot of people on it, and I was impressed at the fact that it seemed as if guys were carrying themselves with a certain amount of respect that you should. But man. Like, who does this? Who puts a woman's office inside of a male bathroom? Who does, like, I cannot fathom what it must be like to, and that's why when we hear women talk about what they go through, we can't be so quick to dismiss it all the time. Just like there are some people that you think, quote unquote, race bait, there are probably some women who say things and you're like, she says it all the time. Well, guess what? We're finding out now that it happens a lot more than has been reported and than you think. It's crazy to me that people like this, who should know better and who should be better and who have so much to lose, so much to risk, doing it for someone that doesn't want you. That's the other thing. Like, understand when you're not wanted, fam. Like, you can find whatever you need out there. I know NFL players who only take escorts to functions.
How can any part of you think it's okay? With the number of times over the last 20 years we have had to go through these tutorials and get our literal diplomas for saying, you can't say, I like your hair today. You can't say, that blouse looks good on you, because it could be taken the wrong way, let alone putting your junk on somebody's shoulder.
And I don't mean to paint with such a broad brush, because all athletes obviously aren't like this. But I know a few guys who are normal people. You know, my guy Nick Roach, normal dude, beautiful family. He just happened to have played football for the Bears and the Chargers. Oh, no, I'm sorry, the Bears and the Raiders. But it's
how's he doing these days?
He's good, man. He's good. He's reinvested his money. He's living out. I believe he's out there in San Diego, if I'm not mistaken. That's where his wife is from. A couple of beautiful kids. Got 3 of the most awesome pit bulls you'll ever see in your life. Like, just beautiful dogs. So, yeah, there are guys who this is just their gig, and then you see the way that they can be outside of their sport. And then there's some guys who that's how they get down. And you just wait until it happens, or maybe it never gets unearthed. It's just, I mean, how many times Warren Sapp is going to have to get in trouble, by the way, in his post-NFL career when it comes to ladies? Like, he's always been a personality. He's always been a guy who's been a good soundbite. But, whether it be the situation that happened at the Super Bowl that I was covering, where he was down at the bar that I was down at,
screaming at the hookers for the payment dispute.
Well, yeah,
right?
You can't.
She was screaming. Like he was refusing to pay.
Start to negotiate. After the deed has been done, pay them their money and let them get up out of there. But it's just so weird to me. Anytime I read these kinds of things, I ask myself, like, who thinks like this? And then you see it at parties, or you see it at social events or social gatherings where people are just grabbing other people. My lady stopped going to clubs a long time ago, long time ago. Even when we were dating, she did not want to go to clubs anymore because she couldn't walk through anywhere or stand at a bar to get a drink without somebody grabbing her ass. And I couldn't, I can't have that. So we've chose other ways to go out and have a drink, or just be in different settings, live music, have a booth or something like that. But it's ridiculous, man, to see these guys with such public personas and platforms go out like this and interact with ladies like this in a workplace.
Bill on Capitol Hill, you're on the Score. What's up, man?
Hello, lads.
What's up, Bill?
How's the Empire?
On fire.
I'm really enjoying your conversation about this, and I appreciate your thoughts. A couple different things, a couple of quick points. Jason, you talked about the discrepancy between having sort of a towel snapping culture and an environment where you feel comfortable putting your scrotum on somebody else's shoulder. I mean, the truth
Hold
is,
me in your arms, baby.
Well, look, I mean, the truth is that I've had myself some complications in a personal life, but what we're looking at here is something like a structural pathology, right? I mean, this is like a prison gang situation. I mean, you need the mind of a RICO prosecutor or a Nuremberg prosecutor to begin to unravel these things. And the second point you made about how we tend, up until very recently, the fact is most of us tended to meet our mates through work, either directly at the office or social functions.
Yeah, proximity.
Right, but the interwebs have changed that now. So it seems to me, because now you have Tinder and Grindr and Match, and it seems to me for the rising generation, they're going to be even less tolerant of what you and I would probably consider to be, harmless mistake or banter. Right. They're growing less tolerant. And then finally, the other thing I'd like to point out is, in a very perverse way, this may prove that we owe that knucklehead you guys put in the White House a big thank you, because it seems to me he, in truth, is the ghost at the table at all of this. Because after that Access Hollywood tape came out, and a culture was confronted with something really nasty, the guy still won. And I think for a lot of women, that was the end of it. I mean, they simply couldn't take it anymore. And to their credit, they are taking an enormous risk right now to make the rest of us lads, figure out what exactly we've been what exactly
What should
the social
fly?
cost of not
Yeah.
not asking any further questions, like what's going on in that door, and why is that boss of ours have such a wry smile? So I appreciate you taking my thoughts, lads, for whatever they're worth, and up the Republic and all that.
Thank you, Bill. As always,
man.
appreciate it. Yeah, we are in rapidly changing times, and it's good. And we just have to be
this tsunami of allegations. People have been sitting on these for years.
We have to be comfortable to sit back and listen. We got to be, because I think the backlash is coming too, and already there are people predicting the backlash to the backlash to the backlash. And but this is we're in a new place, and it's every industry. It is any place where there are men with apparently what they believe to be unchecked power and built-in endemic protections.
I can't wrap my brain around who wants someone that doesn't want them. Like, if you've done this, like there's an allegation here.
That's back to the Louis C.K. stuff.
That Warren Sapp 3 Christmases in a row brought to work for a female coworker, wrapped up a sex toy. Like 3 Christmases in a row. After the first one, which was foul, and you didn't get the reaction that you wanted.
This is the year.
Right. Like, who wants someone that doesn't want them? That I can't figure it out. It goes back to we talk about these campus incidents with these football and basketball players where guys are having sex with women who are passed out drunk. Like, what enjoyment are you getting out of that? What are you getting out of badgering a woman or wearing a woman down to the point where she's like, all right, oh my God, I'll date you. I'll go out with you. Like, who wants that?
St. Charles, this is Mark. He's on WSCR The Score.
Hey, good afternoon, guys. Hey, Dan, this goes back to you supporting the victims of Penn State. You probably got a ton of backlash, but now all of this is coming out. And, hats off to you guys for covering this, because who suffers in this is the victims, because if they come forward, the public opinion is ruining them for life.
Yeah. I mean, and we'll find out more, because this is the beginning of it. And there will be things in discovery, and I'm sure there will be a text message that some very highly paid lawyer is paid to find, and it'll be a smiley face or something like that, and this thing may all get thrown out because she was condoning it with a smiley face, or hell, she may be lying all the way together. But in the climate that we're in right now, we're supposed to listen. We're supposed to,
at the very least.
Yeah, we're supposed to take note. And how many cautionary tales do you need? Like, how many people have to lose it all?
But how many corporations? This is what I can't figure out. I'm sure that the NFL Network, that everybody there.
This is the boss is doing this.
I'm sure that everybody there also had to sign off the same things we've had to sign off for whatever incarnation of this company we've worked for over how many years. Going back the 20 years I've been here, where we literally every 6 months have to pass a test.
I think we got one on the docket right now.
What it's okay to say, what it's not okay to say, what could potentially constitute an uncomfortable workplace. What could be read the wrong way, what needs to be avoided. I'm sure they've got to take. Every giant corporation has to do this. Media corporations.
But that's deniability stuff for these corporations sometimes too, because it's like, hey, I told Ed he shouldn't put his sack on somebody's shoulder. I mean, come on. We talked about it. We talked about it with Ed explicitly, and Ed what did Ed do? Put his sack on somebody's shoulder.
There's also I got to say too, the fact that she was a wardrobe consultant in the conversations that I've had over the years in any number of television stations with makeup / wardrobe, a lot of veterans, a lot of people have been in the business a long time, and it has made me revisit otherwise harmless conversations or asides, or a name comes up and you somebody stiffens a little bit, or the person doing your makeup, you bring somebody up and the two makeup artists share a look. Like, I've gone back and I've realized how much subtext there was and how how many of these conversations that I've had, just,
Somebody, he's a wild boy. Like you get one of those.
Little
like,
things like that,
yeah,
I could tell you stories.
Right, yeah.
Or somebody says something and say, oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about. And then now, and lately, over the past couple of months, I've gone back and thought about, like, ooh, maybe when that guy's name came up and they said this, maybe that's what they were talking about. And it's not enough to act on, but it's enough to just think, like,
well, you just hope that the things that we're hearing didn't take place in that, that close to you.
Aaron in Valpo, you're on the score.
Hey, guys.
Hello.
I had a thought when talking about these accusations and the outlandishness of them, and the thought occurred to me is that when you wonder then, well, how did this stuff go unreported for so long?
Right.
And then I realized that there's got to be some kind of almost like UFO type factor involved in women not wanting to tell anybody because they don't think anybody will believe them. Because
of course.
The stuff is so outlandish.
And they want to keep their gigs.
And I think that it could be extremely affecting the journalism field because of the fear of being, labeled as, not trustworthy, because you're, a reporter is, trustworthiness of what you say is everything. And so if you try to tell somebody that your boss put a scrotum on your shoulder, that how is she going to prove that? Unless there's video evidence or something like that. So
right, and then you're worried about your overall credibility getting smeared because people would say, how is that possible? And now why should we take seriously anything you write or report?
Right. So one instance in and of itself is almost unbelievable. But many instances which are coming out now, when you have women that for whatever reason realize that, hey, we can say something in a number of states, and now all of a sudden it's like, yeah, there's definitely something to this.
Interesting angle. I hadn't quite thought of it from a journalistic perspective that way, about what somebody would say, look, if they're going to come out and smear me, it's not just personal, but it would hurt me professionally going forward.
It's have you ever had a female colleague who was new in the business ask you how to navigate the waters being a female?
I'm the wrong guy to ask, so no.
Well, when I was in Atlanta, there was a reporter who was the first time she had ever done this job, and she said, "Jason, what advice would you have for me?" And I know what advice I would have for a male reporter in that situation. Like, hey, this is how you have to, compose yourself. These are the questions you should ask. Don't ever be afraid. Da, da, da. And then while I'm running that down, I realized I was talking to a young lady, all the extra things that go along with it. Like, oh, by the way, don't ever date any of these guys if they come on to you. Like all the things that I didn't have
athletes?
that I didn't have to tell the male counterparts. I had to start like revising, and I got caught up in saying these things to her because I'm like, I'm sure you know this already, but if you're asking me, she's a beautiful girl, by the way, like beautiful girl. Played ball at Georgia Tech. Like, she was a former athlete herself.
And then you're thinking of all these other concerns. It's funny because I have because
I was around her in the Atlanta Falcons locker room, and the way dudes approached her. She had the microphone. She had the tape. She had the recorder.
She's still candy,
she was dressed exactly. She was dressed like a professional, and dudes did not give a damn because she's a beautiful girl.
I have had, and I've been
tough.
I've been lucky at a young age to have had opportunities to gather advice from people, starting when I was in high school, and being able to get really good advice from people in the business. And not all great advice, but some very honest advice from people. Because you know how your dad has a friend or he meets somebody and said, hey, my son. So I've always tried to pay that forward, that anytime somebody says, hey, my son or daughter wants to, and it's almost, I can count on one hand, maybe two young women have ever asked me professional advice, and I've kept it as straight up as I can. Mm-hmm. I will occasionally, if there's a kid that I think is a real prospect, and so the kids that those
are the kids that get the real advice, Danny.
Well, but
everybody else gets the lollipop.
No, but when when they're asking you different,
don't leave home, that kind of thing. No, save your money.
When they're asking you different kind of questions,
I know,
and you know that somebody already is
there.
Yeah, when you know that this is somebody I'm going to be working for someday, and some of those guys that you really and you may spend a little extra time with, and you say, look, this person is on a little different level. And I've said, look, I'm going to tell you some stuff that other people aren't going to tell you.
Might be nasty, too.
And sometimes
you might not be happy to hear.
I said, look, if you do the small market thing, I said, if you're in Chattanooga,
I've seen you tell kids this too.
Don't fall in love. Don't impregnate somebody. Because you don't want to spend the rest of your life as the number 2 sports guy in Chattanooga. Because you had a kid.
Telling people don't fall in love.
No, I'm serious. Don't
meet the woman of your dreams.
Right. Wait until you are living where you want to live.
How do you control that?
Because you better, or you're going to end up.
How do you control?
Figure it out. Or you're going to end up being the number. You're going to be a weekend guy in Chattanooga. You better really love that woman or man a lot.
Ridiculous. Maybe love is in Quincy, Illinois. Damn it.
Enjoy.
You are.
Enjoy.
You're the Grinch.
Enjoy. If you look, don't be in the market. Don't be like that's what I said. I wouldn't date a Jewish girl until I was in Chicago.
Whoa! I always say, wait, I did not know that was a rule.
Because I didn't want even the possibility
of falling in love,
of something serious enough until I was
living
where I wanted
Italians
to live.
and blacks just caught Dan Bernstein left and right, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, Rockford's full of Swedes and Italians.
Yeah, I'm working with Artemi Panarin all of a sudden. I'm finding out.
Well, no, I'm just saying that I wanted to completely take off the table the possibility
that
I would
hilarious.
That's
don't fall in love. Why can't you fall in love and take her with you?
Good luck.
You are. Oh my God.
That's on you. You want to try to do that? You want to try to do that? Good luck. Until you're living where you want to live.
Oh yeah.
Don't get yourself caught up. You're gonna end up jammed up.
Twist of the knife for one person, especially here at the station.
You're gonna end up jammed up, and you're gonna be doing sports in Pensacola. You're doing high school games on the weekends because that girl happened to be from Pensacola. Have fun with that,
ladies and gentlemen. It's Holiday Heart brought to you by Dan Bernstein.
I'm gonna make your life.
Keeping it a buck, keeping it 100 to everybody. I can dig it.